For pickup for the terrace?
The terrace wasn't included, but this is just a draft.
Sure.
Councilman Carson pointed out something to me earlier that I overlooked. That May 24th week probably would not be very good. That's Labor Day week,
Oh, okay.
or Memorial Day, excuse me. And that, so we have,
Well,
Well,
that's why
Memorial
we
Day
had
was
June,
last.
that's why we had June 1st down for Tuesday. We didn't
Oh,
have-
right.
we didn't have Monday.
well, you said May 24th.
Memorial Day, May 30th.
May,
It's the
May,
31st,
Memorial
last day of the
Day.
year.
Building up to it, what you're saying.
Yes, we used all the city crews for the cemetery and all that stuff. I mean, it would really be an inconvenience to.
So if we then maybe bumped everything down and started on June 1st then?
Yes.
Okay. Would there be a possibility of adding in the terrace somehow? That just seems like a big area that we're not touching.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
We got Murray and Mill and Canyon and Pine, Stevens, Parker, Ogden, and Med, Ely, Fair Lines, Pine Street.
100 people, no shit.
Well, I mean, we're not, that doesn't take into account most of these deals, does it?
there's
Right.
nothing on this deal.
Yeah.
I guess, I would guess, I know I got invested.
Yes.
Okay, your street department's trying to use all their budget up before June 30th. They're doing a great job of strengthening the streets, we're getting kudos out of that. How much of an impact will this have on your aggressive street repair business, taking those
Big trucks on
equipment out of the works to do this? How much time would you involve the water department driving around with trucks going? I mean, the street department's putting down asphalt, and you gotta, she's telling them to use all their public transit, all their RTC funding.
They would not be a part of that. If they were, they would have to organize each department. So say like the water department 1 week, my department, 1 week, maybe Mike's, but if Mike's doing them streets, he's.
That's what I like to see, the street keep going.
Absolutely.
Where you can get Dale and,
Yeah, Carl and Carl, his guy, and Tom, his guy.
because you got CDL drivers in
Mhm.
the water department. Okay, I really want to keep the street.
Oh, absolutely.
Making some great gains on that now.
Yes. It would not affect that.
And this idea was a request from some community members trying to make sure that we had an opportunity to clean up as much as possible prior to the all-class reunion and bring all those people in. And we did look at, in this draft, kind of what the city had done. Gosh, when did they do that? Their initials.
In a while.
Yeah.
And then try to address some of the problems we had there and come up with some new ideas here to make this work better. And I thought they did a fair job here. So, any other questions here?
I thought maybe I looked at earlier, or seen it somewhere. Wasn't there one for businesses too?
That's the next agenda item.
Oh, the next agenda, okay, I'm sorry. I just had a question on that one.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I think that's a great idea.
Move
Well,
to
work.
approve.
And are we approving, we're approving with the, amending the date,
Right.
and then
You want to add the terrace?
adding terrace into the spot at East Ely? Or we just, we
No.
just don't do East Ely because they've got more space for stuff.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think we're starting to cram too much.
Gotcha.
I hate to commit,
Maybe we,
like, them essentially, they're not long blocks, I mean,
maybe we can pick up those other 2 areas later.
Yeah.
In the fall maybe or
well,
something?
maybe an add-on, if it's going faster than we think it,
Okay.
It's just very a rough draft, that's all it's saying.
So we're doing approval with the date amendment, right?
Approval with the date amendment, right, of changing the first day to the first.
We have a motion for approval from Councilman Beecher. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Second from Councilman Allworth. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 6, Councilwoman Beecher, discussion for possible action, approval for the city to promote a community cleanup day, June 19th, 2021, utilizing volunteer groups to clean areas in the business districts.
Again, this was suggested by a community member in anticipation of a large influx of people for the 4th of July, class reunion, the memorial wall. So we just wanted to, we plan to reach out to several volunteer groups for the possibility of getting, kind of mobilizing a group of people to do some cleanup in the heavily trafficked areas on Main Street, around by Pond and by the gravel.
I'd also like to see the businesses in those areas solicited, because sometimes businesses like to get together and group and do that as well in some of those areas to give them an opportunity. So we can get some people for this, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does the business district entail? We would really be going on private property, so
It'd be cleaning up, I mean, just the gutters,
Retail.
sidewalks. I mean, there's a lot of trash that is kind of blown up over the
Vacant
last.
lots, I would,
Yeah.
right?
You know this vacant lot just right over here, across from Taproot, been a vacant lot 20+ years. Every year we send them a letter, every year they don't clean it. I don't think it's right for us as volunteers to go clean private property. We're sending out these gunner letters. You know, I'm gonna go way back, 30 years ago, before the 4th of July, the fire department used to wash Main Street, for sidewalks and everything. That was going good until one business, you chipped my window. That ended that. It was a fun day, it was a host training day, from right here all the way down to past the duck pond. You know, I think that we just, I just can't quite figure out, I mean, how could we go on somebody's property and say, we need to clean it, once you get off my property, it's good to me. I mean, like that sculpture park across from the economy, what can you do there?
Well, and that's, I think, what saves us here is this isn't the city doing it. We're asking for groups to come do that themselves. If it's the business owner or the property owner, so much the better, but it's not city staff.
See, the thing is, the city to promote, again, that might be a little bit, and we're promoting it, what happened? Some guys like falling off the truck or something, I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe
I see the
that's-
concern, but on the other hand, we do need to do something. I don't want our downtown or business districts held hostage by, absentee, trashy property owners who don't want to do anything. But I do see the concern there. Is there liability that we can do with that?
We can encourage the community to clean up their property, but I don't see anything,
We'd be providing them bags.
because we're not necessarily saying go on other people's property, it's just a community cleanup day.
And we all walk, what are we doing with this trash we pick up, or cut down the weeds, what's gonna happen?
Once they fill the trash bags, what do they do with those? When they fill up those trash bags, Mike, that we give them, are they just taking them to the landfill themselves, or are they bringing them back somewhere?
Yeah, in the past, they fill them up and then actually Melody and Sun Street. Fill them up and
But do they bring them back to a certain point, or what do they?
What's that?
How do the bags get from these people and
Oh,
the area
we
they're
got
doing?
the groups, they would get, Melody just got bags, we would hand them out to the groups,
How do you get to the landfill?
and then what's that?
How do you get to the landfill?
They were hauling.
Well, Melody and Bruce right here.
Road, they pick them up and all that.
They would just leave them there on the road?
Yes.
Okay. We could put something on the thing that says, please be conscious of going on other people's property. Or please be cognizant of that. That's what you're doing, finding out.
I think it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, it is. We do a lottery,
I'll entertain a motion with any suggestions.
I'll have to approve.
Motion to approve from Councilman Beecher, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Councilman Alders, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 7, Councilmember City Clerkly, discussion for possible action, consideration of appeal by Eddie Morales regarding nuisance ordinance on his residence located at 650 Orson Avenue, owned by Jose and Virginia Morales.
So Mr. Morales came into City Hall. He exercised his right to appeal because he had received a nuisance notice. His contention is he is building up his yard because he's in a flood zone using bark and wood sawdust.
We've determined that that is not a valid excuse, yes?
Well, the fire chief would be the expert as far as the fire hazard there, and that material floats away, obviously.
Chief Stewart? As I understand it, you've been down to look at this, and
So I drove by and looked at the property after the complaint was made. To me, it looks like they've been just like processing firewood there and it's just built up. He said he's building it for being in a flood zone. Myself, I wouldn't build up with the material that's gonna float away from that flood zone.
That doesn't build up his house any, though.
No, it don't, and it just, like I say, I went and looked, and it's tree bark, and it's just been where they've been, in my opinion, of looking, it looks like they've just been processing wood. There was a sign there that said wood for sale, like they were selling it. This has been a few months ago in this pad, I haven't been by since. I believe, I don't know if any of the others have drove by and looked at the general area, but,
I drove by, I couldn't see that pile.
yeah, it's on the so if you're looking north at the trailer, it's mainly all on the back side between that property and the next one that is on, what is that, Orson?
It's as high as the skirting on the trailer. I would guess that's 3 feet high, all the way back. Probably 8 feet wide.
Is the remedy just that they shovel it up and take it to the landfill, or what's that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something, I mean, it would burn, it's something that's gonna more likely smolder and get to his trailer than it is gonna be an actual big flare-up fire. I mean, there's a hazard there, so I mean, that's as far as I can really assess it, you know, I mean.
Is it a hazard you feel needs to be addressed?
I think it needs to be addressed, I mean, and you know, you got, and like I said, the complaint didn't come from us, it came from adjacent property owner, we just went and verified it. So, you fall into the thing, you know, one man's junk's another man's treasure, so it's just, I guess it's perception of it, but I mean, yeah, to me, it looks just like they've been processing firewood there, and that's all it is, and
Okay. All right, are there any other questions from the council on this item? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we send a letter to our codes that there are proper time link to get this processed or start working again to clean up. It's in the attorney's hands.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Spear. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, so ordered. Item 8, council members, city clerk, lead discussion for possible action, consideration of appeal by Elaine M. Perry regarding nuisance notice on her property located at 1205 Avenue E. I believe you have a letter from Mrs. Perry regarding that. She's not here this evening.
I asked Public Works Supervisor to drive by this property today. There are 5 vehicles in the back. There are not any of the vehicles that are 1949 or earlier. That is a requirement for a classic restoration vehicle. There are some of the vehicles whose tires are deflated. So I would suggest a letter requiring pictures of the registered ones and a timeline when those are going to leave the property. And then informing her that she needs, the ones they're trying to repair, she's limited to 2 per the code. And leave it at that. She
Yeah.
have to clean up the rest.
I think with the ordinance, it's very well spelled out what's allowed and what isn't. So, yeah, I would definitely make a motion to send that letter as suggested by City Clerk Lee.
We have a motion from Councilman Beach.
I'll second.
A second. Second from Councilman Allworth. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say, this is the way it has to be done. It's going to be unfortunate for some people. There's a list of these letters going out now. It's amazing. And some people are actually responding, and this is what the city has to do when we get into these positions where they come to us. So it's unfortunate, but we've got to do this. It's all part of this cleanup program, so that's my comment.
Okay, any further comments? I'll call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 9, council members, city clerk, lead discussion for possible action, renewal of 3-year lease agreement between the city of Ely and the volunteer fire department in the amount of $500 per month for use of the Ely Volunteer Fire Hall. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Councilman Sargent. I need a second before we have.
Second.
Second, go ahead.
Chief, does the volunteers know about this? Do they want to increase that have been brought before the group?
They were the ones that submitted it, the president of the volunteers submitted
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, so ordered. With that, we'll move on to item 10, public comment. Please state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, a lot of the problems you're trying to solve are items that the city has failed to address from years gone by. The fact that the landfill fees now are several $100,000 are because people like Mr. Allworth, back in 2006 when I became mayor, sent me a memo that there was only 22,000 outstanding in the county. 30 days you're late, 60 days, 30 days you're late, 60 days you're on notice, 90 days you're in small claims court, and it's over. But the attorneys at that time, including Mr. Allworth, said, oh, it's not worth our while. We'll let it go until we get to 500 or so. If a person can't pay $30, how in the heck are they going to pay 500 or 1,000, let millions now? Negligence on the city's part, and now we're having problems with the people, including myself. Mr. Spear there, years ago, I was paying amusement games, nobody else was. I brought forth time after time after time that cost me $40,000 in a civil rights case to get my money back, and yet have you collected the tax from the other people I turned in? No. Collect the tax. That's hard money. Quit harassing the people you represent. Wake up. Mr. Mayor, I've told you in the past, and I'm repeating myself, the parking lot at the convention center still does not meet ADA. Recently, on 6th and Lyons, on the opposite side of the convention center, they put an additional drain, but they failed to look at the ADA access on that corner. On new construction, federal law, mandates, ADA compliance. You want to move the city forward? You got the 4th of July coming up. You got handicapped people there. And you're not addressing it. You had a chance, and now you're blowing it. Mr. Mayor, I want to remind you that when I put in my curb and gutter, after the city gave me permission on 7th and Gray Basin, they sued me because I followed their directions. Make up your minds. You people need to grow up. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, several previous meetings I reported numerous RVs, possibly squatters were setting up throughout the city. Again, I'm still seeing them. I haven't seen a list where anybody is paid. Period. Mr. Carson on Orson Avenue has a trailer park. He's putting RVs in there. Where's the permitting? I came for a permit and I was refused. And yet he's stacking RVs one on top of the other, or in front of the other, in violation of the fire code, and you're worried about old George. You want me to improve my properties, yet you cut off my income. You got to play fair, Mayor. I'm not against doing that, but I want to be treated just like anybody else. Equal protection under the law.
You've had your 3 minutes the same as everybody else.
No, I'm not.
You've had your 3 minutes the same as everybody else.
And I want some.
Any other public comment? Please, yes.
First of all, what was the vote? I never did hear what the vote was.
There was no vote because it died for lack of motion. It died for lack of a second.
I can't understand you.
The motion died for lack of a second. So there was no vote.
That's too bad.
Please state your name for the record.
I think there were, because the reason I had to ask that question, first of all, I wanted to thank the council for the approval, because I can't believe it wasn't approved. As it's been to you 3 different times, by recommendations by attorneys. So the ones that have worked on it, I appreciate this attorney and the previous ones and others that have tried to help bring this to fruition. But a few things that were said I would like to correct. I got the opinion that as we went forward, this was not livable. But when I first bought that garage, I paid taxes on it. Every bit the same as I did all the other ones. There were 4 years that I didn't pay any landfill fees because I didn't pay those landfills. Hoping I would finally get somebody's attention. I had earlier come up here. I bought that my first home in 1978. I did not live in that home until 2000. The only time I stayed in it is I came back to Ely for the 4th of July every year, whether it was from New York or whether it was from Boston or whether it was from Salt Lake. I came there, lived in it, paid all the landfill fees and everything, even though there was not one thing that went to the landfill during that period of time that I was living here. So after I talked to your previous attorney, he said that if you will go ahead and pay all your fees now, including the ones for that garage or storage shed that I have, I will eliminate all the fees if you look up to your part of it and pay all of the fees, which I did from that point on. And from that point on, was beginning in 2015 on to 2020. I paid the landfill fees of $39, $156, $156, $156, $126 for each one of those years. I paid, lived up to my part of the bargain that I made with your attorney. I was going to say your attorney didn't have authority to do that. When you put your attorney on, he should have the authority that he has. If he made it, it should have been there. But the thing that bothered me most is when I moved up here and back in 2000, I bought this storage shed 3 years after I came up here. I came over and tried to talk to, first of all, your staff, then I talked to your manager, and no one wanted to listen to me. And I think that is wrong. We wouldn't be sitting here if somebody would have listened. See what we're talking about.
That's your 3 minutes.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where should we take us? Because as a board, and having served on many, many boards in many states, it can still be open for suit.
Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Are you sure you want to be a part of this kind of stuff?
Oh, seems like we always have something to sign.
I don't know if he's still on board.
I didn't see anything.
Is Stanko still on board?
We might be changing it.
30 exactly.
All the previous.
Your dog maybe said. Your dog said.
My dog said Julie.
George, we have a litigation session after this meeting.
Dang it.
Holy poop. I want to hear that too.
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chatchis reporting.